Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable educators, and all debaters. Welcome to today's debate with the motion. This House believes that technology driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. In this debate, we have four teams. On the government bench, we have the opening government and the closing government. On the opposition bench, we have the opening opposition and the closing opposition. Each team consists of two speakers, and each speaker will be given 7 minutes to deliver their speech. The Prime Minister will speak first, followed by the Leader of Opposition, then the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Deputy Leader of Opposition. After that, we will hear from the Member of Government and the Member of the Opposition, and finally the Government Whip and also Opposition Whip. Please note that no new arguments are allowed during the whip speeches. After all eight speakers have delivered their speeches, our honorable educators will take some time to deliberate and decide the winner of this debate. Now that everything is clear, let's officially begin the debate. I would like to call the Prime Minister to deliver the first speech of the debate. Prime Minister, the time is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening, everyone. As the Prime Minister from the opening government, I stand strongly to support the motion. This House believes that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. At first, technology in education sounds great. It's modern, flexible, and helps students learn anytime and anywhere. But the question is, does everyone really get the same benefits from it? The answer is no. Technology doesn't help all students equally. Instead, it actually makes the gap between rich and poor students even wider. Let me explain how. First, unequal access to technology. Technology-based education assumes that every student has the same access to gadgets and internet, but the truth is they don't. Rich students can easily get laptops, tablets, and stable Wi-Fi. They have a quiet place to study too, but poor students often struggle with slow internet, limited data, or sometimes no device at all. For example, during the pandemic, many students in developing countries had to stop studying because they didn't have proper internet access. So instead of making education equal, technology actually gives more advantage to those who are already privileged. Second, different learning environment. Technology also works better for students who have supportive environment. Rich families can afford online courses, digital subscription, and private tutors. They also understand how to use technology effectively. Meanwhile, poor students often share devices with their siblings, study in noisy places, and get little help from home. This makes their learning process harder, and the difference between rich and poor students keeps getting bigger. Argument 3, psychological and motivation gap. Technology doesn't only create a material gap, it also creates a mental and emotional gap. When a student sees their classmates using better gadget or learning tools while they can, it hurts their confidence. They start to feel left behind and less capable. Over time, this feeling affects their motivation and participation in class. So even mentally and emotionally, the gap keeps widening. So, to sum up, technology-driven education may look modern and helpful, but in reality, it only benefits those who already have resources. It gives more change to the rich and power to the poor. Instead of bridging the gap, it widens it, turning education which should be fair and equal into something that favors the privileged. Therefore, as the opening government, we strongly believe that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prime Minister, for your argument. And now, Deputy Prime Minister, please welcome.
Thank you, Honorable and respected for the opportunity. I, as the leader opposition, I strongly reject this motion. I believe that technology-driven education actually reduces the gap between the rich and poor students by providing broader access and cheaper learning alternatives. Now, the government romanticized that the so-called traditional classroom and exaggerate inequality caused by technology and made a bigger gap in poor and rich students. Technology actually democratizes education. It opens access to information that was once locked behind privilege. A student from a small rural school can now watch lectures on YouTube, take an open courses, or learn English through free apps like Duolingo or Busu or etc. All without paying a cent. Yes, while it's true that students may have devices or faster internet, but let's not forget the gap already existed before technology appeared. The difference now is that the poor students can still participate through public Wi-Fi, community centers, or even shared devices. So instead of widening the gap, technology gives them a chance to catch up. Now, let me explain why. First, technology increases access to quality learning. Before the digital era, quality education was a privilege of the rich or to those who could afford good schools or tutors. Now, online materials, books, and free digital courses make education borderless. Students from a low-income background and family can access the same resources as a private school students. For instance, platforms like Ruang Guru and Coursera provide top-tier lessons at no cost. This gives every learner, whether it's rich or poor, a fair chance to improve or from big cities or well-funded schools. Then um, it gives better cost flexibility. Technology-driven education cut many costs that traditionally advantage the poor, like transportation, housing, printed books, and school uniforms. Students who cannot afford to move to big cities like Jakarta or Surabaya for university can still take online international programs, Flexibility is especially empowering for working students or for supporting their families, allowing them to study anytime and anywhere. Therefore, technology doesn't divide, it is an opportunity. Now, last, empower. It's kind of empowerment through digital skills. When access technology provides empowerment, it gives them practical digital skills from coding and graphic design to online marketing that can translate into real income. For example, many students from rural area in Indonesia have become freelance designer or online tutors after learning skills through YouTube or Skillshare. In long in the long term, this reduces poverty and opens the new economic mobility. So, in conclusion, technology is a tool for liberation, not limitation. It gives the poor the ability to learn, compete, and to thrive in a digital world. Therefore, we at the opposition side vehemently and confidently oppose this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Leader of Opposition, for your arguments. And now, Deputy Prime Minister, the time is yours.
Hello everyone, honorable adjudicators, respected opponents, and members of the House. Here, I proudly stand as the Deputy Prime Minister from the governing government side. Our team strongly support the motion that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. The Prime Minister has already explained how digital education, despite its promise, has deepened inequality between students with privilege and those without. Now, in my speech, I will strengthen our stance, add new layers to our arguments, and respond to the opposition's claims that technology makes education more equal. First, access is not the same as equality. The opposition might argue that everyone has access to technology today. They might say, look around, everyone has a smartphone now. But let's be real, having a phone doesn't mean having equal access to education. Imagine two students, one studies in a quiet room with a laptop, fast Wi-Fi, and supportive parents. The other studies in a noisy home, sharing a single old phone with siblings and limited internet data. Technically, both are connected, but only one truly learns effectively. When classes, buffer assignments cannot be uploaded, and video calls drop the poor students falls behind not because of effort, but because of infrastructure. This is the core of our case. Technology doesn't eliminate inequality, it magnifies it. Those with better devices, faster internet, and digital literacy more ahead, while others are left struggling to catch up. And the impact is the education gap grows larger with every online class or digital requirement. Second, institutional bias system built for the privileged. Let's move to the second point. Today, many schools and universities assume every student can learn online or submit digital assignments. But these systems were designed by and for people who already have access. When a student fails to submit an online quiz because of poor connection, it's marked as incomplete. When they miss a Zoom class to limited data, it's called absence. Their grades drop not because they are lazy, but because the system punished them for being poor. This is what we call systemic or institutional inequality. Technology-driven educational unintentionally creates a structure where privilege equals success. It's not that poor students lack intelligence, they lack access, and that's a structural problems. And second, the digital literacy gave the new face of inequality. Even when access exists, not everyone can use technology the same way. Rich students grow up surrounded by digital tools, laptops, tablets, and online learning apps. Their confidence navigating platforms, coding, or even building projects online. For students, they are still learning how to open files, type properly, or use educational platforms. This gap in digital literacy creates a new kind of inequality, not about who is smart, but about who had the chance to learn. So, while wealthy students use technology to innovate, poor students struggle to adapt. This difference compounds over time, leading to unequal opportunities in higher education and future jobs. And the impact is the digital divide becomes the foundation of lifelong inequality. Now let's respond to what the opposition might say. First, they might argue that technology creates opportunities for everyone because there are free research online. We agree, the resources exist, but that doesn't mean everyone can access or benefit from them. If your internet is unstable or your device crashes, that free education is out of reach. Second, they might say technology reduces cost because it removes the needs for transportation or textbooks. But it adds new expenses, buying devices, paying for data, fixing equipment, and maintaining software. For many families, these costs are still too high. Finally, they might say technology empowers students with new skills. That's true, but only for those who can afford to learn the skills in the first place. For the poor, digital skills remain a luxury, not a currency. The inequality doesn't end in the classroom. It follows students throughout their lives. Today, in universities and employers fill with digital portfolios, online certification, and test-based assessments. Who can afford this? Students with access to fast internet, premium courses, and advanced tools. So, even after graduation, privilege continues to decide who gets opportunities, not effort or talent. Technology driven education, therefore, doesn't solve inequality. It reproduces and in smarter, more hidden ways. And conclusion, technology is a tool, and like any tool, it depends on who holds it. When the rich have better tools and the poor have broken ones, the result isn't equality, it's deeper division. So, yes, technology driven education was meant to help us. But without equal infrastructure, equal literacy, and equal support, it becomes a mirror that reflects privilege, not progress. For these reasons, we on the government bench firmly believe that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for your arguments. And now it's time for Deputy Leader of Opposition to give your arguments. For Deputy Leader of Opposition, the time is yours.
Thank you for the Thank you for their honorable chair and respected guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I, as the deputy leader of opposition, I will strengthen the leader of opposition has been said before and respond to government's clear-based argument that technology is society. Now, let's be clear. If students can accept that is not technology's fault, it is the result of poor infrastructure and government inaction, and it's not the family fault either. Blaming technology for inequality is like blaming a book for being too expensive. The problem is not the book, but the system that limits access to it. With the right policy, for example, like subsidies for devices or free schools, Wi-Fi, and device, technology can reduce inequality. Now, the second one, technology is not just about education. Let's not forget about that. The technology is about opportunity. Thousands of low-income students have used online resources to gain scholarship or remote work opportunities in this era. For instance, during the pandemic, COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic, many Indonesian students or international students from rural backgrounds learn digital skills and got online jobs. It's something impossible without technology. This shows that digital education actually creates upward mobility instead of reinforcing class divides. Now, here's what the government misses. Technology-driven education builds global collaboration in reality. Students from different countries and economic backgrounds can work together on research project, innovation challenge, or virtual competition, and it's all in form of online or digital custom. This exposure fosters empathy, teamwork, collaboration, and a sense of shared progress. When poor and rich students collaborate as equals in the digital world, the social gap shrinks. Now, in conclusion, the government's argument rests on fear, not fact. Technology-driven education does not widen inequality. It actually reshapes the opportunity itself. The real question is not whether technology is best, but whether we use it inclusively or not. When we use it wisely, it bridges divides, empowers students, and builds a more equal education for future. Now, for all these reasons, we firmly reject the motion. That's all from me.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. Now let's move on to the member of government. For member of the government, the time is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. As the member of the government, I stand today to extend our side's argument by showing how technology-driven education, while seemingly inclusive, actually strengthens systemic inequality, making the gap between rich and poor students not only wider but more permanent over time. Our opening government has shown the direct inequalities of access and opportunity. Now I will take this debate further to the structure and long-term level, showing why this inequality becomes institutionalized through technology itself. Let's begin with the commercialization of learning. In today's education system, technology is not neutral, it's a business. Most digital learning platforms like Coursera, Udemy, and ADX operate on a freemium model. The basics are free, but meaningful progress costs money. Wealthy students can afford paid certification, premium mentorship, and verified diplomas that improve their job prospects. Meanwhile, poor students are left with limited access, free trials out free trials, outdated material, and no recognized credentials. So even though both can learn online, the value of their education becomes unequal. For instance, Coursera's professional certificate in data science costs around $50 per month, a small amount for rich students in developed countries, but a week's salary for many in developing nations. That financial barrier determines who gets recognized qualification and who doesn't. Thus, technology-driven education creates a two-tiered system. One for the privileged who can afford quality digital education, and another for the rest who are left behind. In short, technology does not democratize education, it privatizes it. Next, let's discuss something deeper: algorithmic and linguistic bias. Most educational technologies are created in Western English-speaking contexts. The content, example, and language assume a certain cultural and linguistic background, that automatically disadvantage students from developing countries who might not be fluent in English or familiar with Western norms. Even even AI driven platforms like essay graders or tutoring bot tend to favor Western writing styles, vocabulary, and logic structures. A student from Indonesia or Nigeria might write a great essay in their local style, but AI would grade it lower because it doesn't fit the algorithm's training data. That is not fair learning. That is systemic exclusion built into the code. For example, Grammarly or AI writing assistant often misunderstand non-native phrasing, marking it as incorrect, when in fact it's simply cultural difference. Over time, poor or non-Western students internalize these biases, losing confidence in their own voice. So even if access exists, it it's access to a system that wasn't built for them, meaning they still start from behind. Finally, technology-driven education creates what I call the illusion of equality. It looks fair because everyone can log in, but real equality isn't about logging in. It's about being able to benefit equality. Rich students can afford tutors to guide them through complex platforms, faster internet to join live classes, and better digital literacy from an early age. Poor students, however, struggle to even stay connected. The result? They'll fall further behind in grades, motivation, and skill. The example is during the COVID-19 pandemic, UNESCO reported that over 1,463 million students worldwide were unable to access online learning due to lack of digital resources. That's not a small number. That's 500 million future affected. So, while the opposition celebrates access, we remind the House access without capacity is not equality, it's a marriage. Now, to respond to the opposition, they say technology reduced the gap because information is freely available, but information alone doesn't guarantee understanding or success. If both a rich and poor student are given a textbook, the richer one still has the environment and support to understand it better. Technology only amplifies that gap by scaling privilege through device and infrastructure. They also argued argued that technology provides free opportunities, but nothing is truly free. Not data, not devices, not electricity, and even free platform profit through ads and data collection, often exploiting users from developing regions. So instead of closing the gap, technology monetizes it. In conclusion, technology-driven education doesn't fix inequality, it evolves it. From access and quality to algorithmic bias and commercialization, every level of the system privilege those who already have more, while the opposition sees technology as a bridge, we see it as a ladder, and only the rich can climb it. Therefore, we, the closing government, strongly reaffirm technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students, not by accident, but by design. Thank you.
Thank you, member of government. Next, please welcome the member of opposition. The time is yours.
Honorable educators, respected member of the House, and fellow debaters, as the member of opposition, I stand proudly to extend our side case by proving that technology-driven education actually narrows the gap between rich and poor students through empowerment, accessibility, and innovation. Technology creates equal opportunity for progress. Digital learning provides open access to global knowledge. With free platforms like Coursera, Khan Academic, or even YouTube, students from any background can study advanced topic, gain certification, and develop valuable skills. In fact, many success stories show students from rural or low-income areas achieving global recognition through self-learning online. Technology allows them to compete global, something traditional education could never provide. The multiplier effect of free resources. When one student from a disadvantaged area gains access to online learning, that knowledge doesn't stop there. They share it with classmates, siblings, and communities. This ripple effect allows technology to spread educational benefits beyond the individual, reducing long-term inequality. The government said technology is commercial and benefit only those who can pay, but this ignores the huge number of free, high-quality platforms that exist. Education today is no longer limited to privilege. Knowledge is open source. What matters is initiative, not income. Technology empowers the poor, expands access to global knowledge, and promotes independence. It's not a driver, it's a bridge toward equality. Therefore, we are proud to stand on the opposition side. Thank you.
Thank you, member of opposition. Now, please welcome the government whip. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. The government whip. I will summarize this debate by comparing both sides clearly and showing why the government bench wins this round. First, opposition claims that technology increased access. We agree access exists, but access doesn't mean equality. Having internet doesn't mean equal learning quality. When one student has fiber optic Wi-Fi and a MacBook, and another has a 3G phone with low battery. They are not in the same classroom, even if they are both online. Our site showed that real education quality depends on researches and environment, something technology cannot equalize. Second, opposition says technology creates opportunities, but we says what's matter is who can take advantage of those opportunities. Only privileged students can afford paid course, certification, and modern devices. Meanwhile, poor students are stuck with limited tools and minimal digital literacy. So, the opportunity only depends the existing gap. Example, think about AI learning tools that cost about $30 per month, cheap for some, impossible for others. That's not an opportunity, that's economic exclusion. The third, opposition celebrate digital skills and empowerment, but our side prove that even digital skills development depends on systemic fairness. You can learn coding without laptop. You can learn design without a software. Thus, the system itself favors the rich because skill building tools are locked behind a paywall. Fourth, opposition only sees the short-term access online resources. We, on the other hand, expose the long-term danger, a world where education becomes commercialized, English-dominated, and algorithm-driven, permanently excluding those who start with less. That's not a progress, that's a digital segregation. So, even if technology offers some benefit, the harm is structural, not temporary. When education becomes dependent on costly devices and biased system, inequality becomes permanent, and that's the biggest threat to equal education. Therefore, after weighing all classes, the government side wins because we don't just look at surface level access. We examine systemic fairness, economic structure, and real human outcomes. Technology driven education without equity is not progress. It's privilege discussed as innovation. And that's why we firmly stand that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. Finally, please welcome the opposition whip to deliver the last page of the debate. The time is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judge and respect audience, as the opposition whip, I will summarize today's debate and show you clearly why our side of opposition has won this round. Let's go through the main class in this debate. The first one is privilege versus possibility. The government side focused too much on who owns the technology. They argue that only rich people benefit because they have better access to devices and the internet. But our side believe this argument is narrow and ignore the real power of technology. Technology is not just about having a fancy laptop or the news phone. It is about what you can do with it, how it opens new opportunity. Even students with limited access can still use free online resource, digital library, and learning apps. Many examples around the world show how people from small towns or developing countries can study online, gain new skill, and even build a career, all thanks to technology. So while the government focus on privilege, we focus on possibility, the possibility that anyone can learn and grow if given a chance. The second is dependent versus empowerment. The government claims that poor students become to depend on technology and on those who can afford it. But outside technology, story, but our side strongly disagree. Technology doesn't make students dependent, it makes them empowered. Through the internet, students don't need to wait for teachers or expensive course. They can search, explore, and learn at their own pace. For example, students in a rural area can watch free lessons on YouTube or use online tutoring apps. The independence builds confidence, creativity, and motivation. Instead of creating dependence, technology gives freedom. Freedom to learn, to question, and improve oneself. That's what true empowerment looks like. The third is system gap versus individual mobility. The government says inequality in technology makes the gap between rich and poor even wider. We agree that inequality exists, but it's not full story. Even if the system is on fire, individual can still move upward when they use technology wisely. Think about online freelance digital artists or remote workers. They don't need to live in big city or come from a rich family to success. They just need internet access and skill, both of which can be learned through the technology. So technology is not deepening the gap. It's providing a ladder for individual to climb out of poverty. This shows that while the system may still have technology gives people the tools to fight back and change their own life. To end, let's be clear: technology is not the enemy. The real problem are ignorance, lack of access, and bad policy. When used wisely, technology brings empowerment, access, and innovation. Education through the technology help people gain knowledge, improve their life, and connect with the world. That is something we should support, not fear. For other reason, the opposition strongly believe that technology is a tool for equality and progress, not inequality. Therefore, we proudly say the opposition side wins the debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to opposition whip. Thank you to all speakers for your passionate and insightful speeches. We have now reached the end of today's debate on the motion. This House believes that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. Now, please welcome our honorable adjudicators to deliver the results and feedback. To adjudicators, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, for your opportunity. So, honorable judges, and respected debates. As the judges of the debates, I will provide an objective evaluations of the motions. This House believes that technology drives educations widen the gap between rich and poor students. So the debate has presented conflicting arguments from both sides, focusing on the impact of technology of education accessibility. I will assess of the strengths of the arguments, the evidence presented, and their relevance to the motions, while considering the social and economic context. So overall, the both team presented balanced arguments, with the pro team strong and in identifying real risks of economic inequality, while the con team offered a positive visions but less realistic about structural barriers. The motion are fundamentally true, as technology often exer- sorry, exacerbates inequalities if not balanced with public investment. However, the core team successfully showed that technology is not the primary cause of the tool that can be improved. In terms of delivery, the pro team was more persuasive with contents data, while the code team was more innovative in solutions. Award higher points to be the pro team because the argument more directly addressed the motions and were backed by strong evidence. So, and I will assess the debate based on the content, style, and strategy, the way which team best providing logical reasons, comparative analysis, and overall persuasive in supporting their sides. So I will sorry. So I will read the commenter of your arguments. The first is from Prime Minister, is there are you? So far your delivery is clear and very nice pace of your content. So overall, your overall argument is clear and nice, and also your pronunciation. But I preferably more energetic you at your delivery. So second is the leader of oppositions. Your delivery of your argument of the content is good, but there are little problems with your internet connections. So, I can't hear your pronunciation is a little bit unclear, but that doesn't matter for you. So the third is Tsurayya as Deputy Prime Minister. So far your pronunciation is good and well. Also nice pace speaking and deliver your arguments, but preferably more energetic deliver of your arguments. So the fifth is Eja as sorry I forget it. Your argument is clear and very nice deliver arguments and also clear at your pronunciations, but I preferably more energetic at your deliver to your arguments. So the second is Sava. Your delivery of the content is well, but sometimes you got missing of your pronunciation, your word or your sentence, and also you need to improve performance on your intonations called be more energetic. And then the seven is Sarah. Your pronunciation is clear and nice pace of your speaking is good also. And also still any performance on your intonations called be more energetic, but the content is clear. And the last is Aliyya as a position whip. Your delivery of the content is well, but sometimes you got some missing little word or sentence, but overall your deliver is clear and nice. So uh as my partner as under interruption, so I have to replace it to read uh sorry to read the sorry guys wait. Okay. So my partner is under interruption, so I have to replace it to read the winning. So after we have education and evaluations, we have reached our final decisions. The result of today's debate is as follows. The first place goes to CG, and the second place go to OG, and the third place go to CO, and the fourth place goes to OO. Okay, so for the closing assessment, based on these evaluations, I decide that the pro team wins the debate with the score of 7-3, as they were more effective and improving the technology-driven education in that widens the gap between rich and poor students without unequal magnifications. Thank you to you all, both team, for a higher quality debate. May this encourage further discussion and inclusive educations. The debate is now closed. So thank you there for me.
Thank you to our honorable educator for the results and the valuable feedback. And thank you to all debaters for your outstanding performance today. That officially concludes our debate session on the motion. This House believes that technology-driven education widens the gap between rich and poor students. Once again, congratulations to all teams and thank you everyone for your participation and attention. Have a wonderful day and give yourselves a big round of applause. Once again, thank you.